Hey guys, welcome back to yourstory.com, and you guys must be getting ready for your elections. Some of you must have already voted, but did you ever consider that some of it that influenced you to vote could have been influenced by a bot maybe? Maybe it was fake news. By the way, this is India's first election to have cyber warfare on such a global level, and I've got cyber experts from Subex with me, Rohit, and I've got Sharat who are going to tell you the difference between fake news and reality. Guys, I hope we do good justice to these young people watching out there. Where did this all begin? I mean, a few years ago, we all thought Twitter was great information, Facebook was great information, but today it's only manipulation. It seems like, right?
Yeah.
Go on, Rohit.
Great to be here. I
Thank you.
hope the audience has a good time watching this.
Thank you.
I think 2010 Arab Spring was the first evidence of social media being used not only to tweet, not only to post, or to spread a narrative, but to really organize a revolution, right? I think in 21st century, most revolutions will be organized on social media, and that's the reality. So increasingly we are seeing, if you look at the evolution of how all of this has been happening, it all started with initially people sitting behind accounts trying to spread a certain message. And as it started evolving, there were farms of people in Philippines, in Indonesia, and eventually it started taking this form of so-called bots.
So
To spread a
it
message.
started with people. That means there was a separate business to do this, to send fake news. That was 10 years ago.
It all started 10 years ago.
Okay.
And then, people started recruiting other people to spread a message, and eventually it started getting more and more sophisticated and automated. And that's what we are seeing in the last decade or so.
With these farms of people, they just take content from globally, rehash it, and then spread it on social media. That's how it started, like a BPO kind of approach.
It started much like a BPO in Philippines, in Indonesia, and some of these countries where labor is not very expensive, right? And you could be buying a number of people, essentially a number of accounts, to try and post, hashtag, and follow certain people you would want to.
Okay, and when did this evolution towards automation happen, where bots started handling things themselves?
I think the first large-scale evidences started emerging in the last 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
If you look at 2016 elections in the United States, right, this was one of the first well-storied elections where bots were extensively used, right? The largest pro-Trump bot had around 944, botnet had around 944 bots, and the largest pro-Clinton botnet had around 264 bots.
So it's 944 versus 264.
944 versus 264, and the battle was unevenly matched, right? You would see around the debate time, most of these bots start doing prolific posting, either to promote their candidate or to bring down their adversary, right? The Clinton bots, for every Clinton bot posted, message posted, the Trump bots were posting nearly 7 times more, right? And since these bots are followed by people like you and me, these get reposted several times, and before you know, what is being spoken on social media starts becoming the truth.
That's true, and this also happened. I've seen this happen to me personally. I was when the Kaveri riots happened. Tamil Nadu versus Karnataka. There was like this Kannada versus Tamil going on. There was so much fake news being spread. Right, it was phenomenal. People in Tamil Nadu would ask me, because I was caught in that region at that time. They would show it to me and say, "Is this true? Is this what you guys say?" I say, "No, please don't believe it. It's fake." But how does one realize that it's a bot? How do you notice that it's a bot? Don't trust it. When do you guys track it?
So there are a few things, right? First thing is the handle itself, right? These are sometimes look like genuine handles, but most of the cases it's some name followed by a number or something like with an underscore or something like that. That's the first thing. And the type of message and the frequency of the tweet is a lot more than a normal person can sit and do it, right? They want it to be trending. It's all about scale. So they go in and bots tweet every 10 minutes, every 15 minutes, and it's the same
normal
kind.
Human being can't do.
Can do, but I don't see people doing it for hours together from the same handle or something like that.
Wow. So this is done automatically. How does it work? These sit on servers.
Okay, the bots.
Who infuses these bots? Is there an actor or something like that?
Sure. usually the originator of these bots is an individual, right? The message or the narrative that you want to sell is designed by the individual. Eventually the bot starts spreading it, okay? So these individuals are called as herds or shepherds in the bot world, right? And they are herding these bots into botnets to spread the message. These bots are essentially social media accounts in our context, in the conversations context, right? And like Sharath mentioned, most of these are fake social media accounts, and they follow real people. And if you know how social media is designed, it is designed to grab the largest number of eyeballs for the most amount of time. So, when more and more people start viewing a certain kind of message, it is sort of self-fulfilling, right? The social media starts promoting and trending that message, right? And it becomes the truth of the day.
Okay. Do these bots also snoop on the network where I know there are fake bots that promote news for eyeballs. Do these bots also observe habits that, okay, this Vishal likes reading, something about, ancient Indian culture or something like that. Maybe it then focuses the narrative on what's going on with the current party's narratives.
And again, like to take an example. Right?
Please,
this
please.
is 2017.
Is it happening?
It is happening, and I will give you an example. Right?
Yes,
2017 UK election.
Yes.
Sharath and I were speaking about a short while back. Right? Labour Party, some very young activists of the Labour Party figured out a way to use Tinder to promote a political
So
message.
guys using Tinder, you can be subject to political messages also. Huh?
Yeah.
Again, I'm using the word Tinder. Right? So what happened?
Okay, here is what happened on Tinder, right? They first of all, wrote bots which would, exchange flirtatious messages, like, right? And once,
it's a bot.
It's a bot. And
Starts
targeted at 18 to 35.
Yes.
Right? The most vocal promoters of a party, right? Targeted at 18 to 35. Messages which are flirting in nature, and after a few set of messages start promoting a political content.
Scary.
Right? So each of these bots were reaching out to 30, 35, 40,000 odd people. Right? It's difficult to say the level of influence they had on the election, but it goes without saying it had a significant impact. And the beauty is these accounts originally belonged to Labour Party members who they voluntarily, temporarily repurposed it for bot to take over and spread this message.
So I mean, this is like a new world order. And for you security experts, do you give solutions to corporations, individuals? How does it work? We all spoke about malware security and all that. This has gone beyond all that, right?
Yeah.
How do we stop it? Is there a case to stop it, or do we just say, like, you're not on Facebook, for example?
I am not on Facebook.
And how do you stop it? You're also not there. How do you stop it?
So, there's a difficult thing, right? First thing is, can we stop a bot from attacking a website or bringing down an entire server of the website or attacking a critical infrastructure of a country versus spreading news messages? So at Subex, what we have done is we have set up
a lab.
You can call it like a botnet. We have something called a honeynet, right? And we have it in 62 different countries around the world. And we have put 4,000 plus devices, IoT devices, in different parts of the world where we attract attacks, basically.
And
to understand.
I've seen the lab, and a lot of attacks come from Eastern Europe, China, or whatnot,
Correct.
right? And Middle East.
Yes.
Right.
And we understand the behavior of these bots, right? And we generate something called as signatures to identify in our customer sites if there's some similar behavior.
And these are signatures saying they're coming for this kind of information? Or
Yes.
The pattern itself.
Okay.
So we say that, okay, it's coming from this IP address with this behavior, targeting this part of the device, then it's actually an attack.
So, by the way, that means in elections, in any election globally, they can manipulate the narrative if they want it, right? Because they're snooping on your devices on one thing. They are spreading news on the other side on Facebook and Twitter, whatnot. So, as people, we're all experiments.
We are very, very gullible. I think it requires three-pronged strategy in my view.
Yes, please.
If you want to, somehow control this. First of all, self-regulation by the platforms themselves, and you have to give credit where it is due.
Correct.
WhatsApp, Facebook, YouTube, almost all the large major social media networks are trying to either do something about this, right? I know they have employed more than 30,000-40,000 people who are using a combination of rules, heuristics, and manual intervention to weed out fake accounts.
Deep fakes.
We'll come to deep
We'll
fakes.
take out
Yeah,
deep fakes,
we'll come
okay.
to deep fakes.
One is self-regulation.
So self-regulation, but believe me, it is kind of challenging for them because social media wants more and more people to come, increase traffic, and this in a way reduces traffic and reduces revenue. Second is, I think, state, right? The government has a policy responsibility, right? In any democracy, I think free speech is super important, but at the same time, speech which manipulates a narrative is super dangerous. So there is state policy which needs to intervene, and most importantly, you and I have a significant role to play. If you and I cannot verify a news item, I think we should be super careful and not to.
But let me sit upon thought and throw it to both of you.
Sure.
You told me earlier that most of them are younger.
Yes.
Guys, most of you guys. Girls and boys. Of course. These guys tell me that people who are under 35 are the most vulnerable and gullible. It's scary.
I would say they are.
Because I always thought it was going to be people who probably watch the Republic TV or something like that, for example. The nation wants to know kind of thing. But really, it's the younger people.
So
why is that?
So I think look at India's statistics, right? We have 300 plus million WhatsApp and Facebook users in India. And year on year, it is just growing. In rural countryside, it's doubling. Most of these are youngsters. And I was reading a survey where they were asked, do they trust social media, right? And 30% of people said they trusted social media. That is mind-boggling set of numbers.
Seriously, this is very scary because I'll tell you, even older people are getting into WhatsApp, and I showed you some messages on elections, and on TV there's a narrative which seems like a static narrative, and this is a dynamic narrative. It's changing every day.
Yes.
And these are bots doing it is even more scarier for me, Rohit. I never thought that this could be a regulated. Is this an AI doing this?
No, not really. I think we are not seeing AI, Sharad.
Not yet. Like not seeing AI doing the whole thing, like spreading the news and all that. But I think these are bots sitting on different. Initially, they started off where bots were sitting on computers. Like they were put into applications which were downloaded by people, and it was sitting on computers. But now we are seeing that bots can even sit on devices like your cameras, which are sitting in an isolated environment.
This one, if it's connected.
If it's connected, yes. If it's connected, yes.
Give it enough compute power, and there are reasons for people to harness it.
This is interesting. So let me get it right here. The influence is not just on people, but also shaping narrative. So it could be people like me.
Yes.
It will be people like Arnab, Pranay Roy, all those other media stalwarts, right?
Yes.
So we have to be watchful.
We have to be.
And you guys track it on a daily basis?
Oh yeah. Like Sharath mentioned, we have a very sophisticated lab, a cybersecurity lab, where we are tracking, the different kinds of bots, malware that are attacking globally different connected devices. And we definitely see increase in bot traffic right around a major event. Right, elections are one of those.
So at this point of time, these guys not to be falling for a narrative for whatever side you support. Okay, that's why we're not naming political parties here.
Absolutely.
You got to watch out for it yourself.
Absolutely.
So where do they watch out? One is you're saying that the handles that you see, if they have numbers, if they have underscores, if they're tweeting, retweeting regularly.
And usually these handles come with a celebrity photograph of some model or something like that.
Don't trust them. And what about the videos? What would you recommend people to do if the bot video?
Yeah. So I think these are deep fakes that you are mentioning.
What is a deep fake? You want to tell us?
Right. Deep fake with AI today, it's possible to create a video with an individual and a voice, right, which absolutely is indistinguishable from the reality. And you could be potentially making a Barack Obama sing a song which you want to sing, right? And that's incredibly powerful. And when a video like that goes online with a certain political narrative from a certain political leader which has been created by AI, just imagine the havoc it can wreak, right? And that's known as deepfake. Deepfake all started with, interestingly, like all things online, with porn, right? As a replacement for mainstream porn actors. But now gradually the big risk that we are seeing is it getting into social media.
So I'm saying if this thing was connected and we are chatting, somebody can pull this video mime the voice to something else to
Yes.
attack,
Mhm.
and it can be like us talking on a
Or
completely,
different thing. Completely different thing.
Eh,
Give it enough videos of Vishal,
mhm.
right? It can now start creating a new video of Vishal in a very different setting with a very different context and a message that the person who's writing the algorithm decides.
So then, then I'll be setting a different narrative and telling these young people to go do something. Right?
Yeah.
So this has been scary. In the old days, there was in the 1920s or 30s in New York, there was a mass suicide because radio was new then.
Yeah.
And some message went viral talking about the radio
Mhm.
world, and there were mass suicides.
Yeah.
So this can happen even in our world. Do you think we're too gated in this bot world?
No, it can certainly happen.
Yeah.
While we do not have large scale evidence, we do have large scale evidence of bots being used. We do not have large scale evidence of deep fake being used to manipulate a story. But to me, it's a matter of time, and therefore I said state policy, self regulation, and people awareness is the only way of managing. Most of us decide who we want to vote to by talking to our friends, our family members, listening to charismatic leaders, reading news. Now all of these connections are happening online on social media, right? We are talking to friends, we are listening to family members, we are listening to leaders, reading news, everything online. And when deepfake comes, I think we are in trouble as a society.
But you guys can track it. You do. Have you done work? Because I've been to your lab. I've seen a lot of attacks. How you track and respond to attacks. Do you guys can stop these things?
One is we can definitely track, like Sharath mentioned, track using a different set of attributes or rules, right, which allow us to identify where it has originated and if the originator is a bot. To that extent, we can track. But most of bot activity online for media is actually legit bot activity. Now let me describe this. A lot of promotional activity is originating on bot.
That's
right?
another thing, guys. These guys are telling me there are bots to promote legit content.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Yeah.
That's even more scary. That means the legitimate
Because
guys also need bots too.
That's how it is, right?
content out.
A conversation does not trend on Twitter unless and until it has enough number of people looking at it or retweeting it, and that's the reason legit content was also. That's the reason it was started. Bots were started, and
That's
we are
right.
promoting it.
That's right.
But it's not going to stop here. What are the solutions? You guys. Apart from the eyes and the ears, you can't close them both, right? So
No,
what do you
can't.
think these guys should do?
I think, as I mentioned, social media platform themselves are doing quite a bit. Remember, they are dealing with different geographies, 50 plus or 60 plus different mainstream languages. So they have tens of thousands of people looking at it. From a cybersecurity point of view, I think we can, we are already enabling scenarios where, we help organizations arrest and isolate bots, right? Bots which are designed to take over infrastructure, for example. I think, in my view, the next generation set of solutions will be in also managing these narratives, and we will eventually get there when increasingly connected devices.
There are good bots to fight the bad bots, kind of thing. Huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So again, we're already seeing it. There are a lot of bots which have been built to actually crypto mine cryptocurrency. They sit isolated on a device and it's mining cryptocurrency, right? But they've been good bots built to go and find out where those bots are and kill them.
So that's interesting. You were also saying that we are in a connected world today. IoT, right, is going to be real.
Mhm.
Like we have Amazon Alexa, Google Home, or whatever. All those can be influenced, right, by bots. I'm just saying they can sit and listen to whatever you're saying.
Mhm.
Yes.
That can happen too.
Yeah.
So you've seen such threats?
Not on any of the home devices that you've mentioned, but we've seen that bots do sit on video cameras, go
At
through
home?
the video feeds
In corporate
in
locations?
public. So there are three different spaces, right? It's private space, private public space, and public space. So what we have seen is mostly use cases in the public space, where they're looking at government buildings or very high security locations and things like that, and they're tapping the video traffic and looking at what's going on there. And bots are interestingly being used to launch attacks on other cameras in the network as well, to bring down the entire video management
so
system
tomorrow, if
itself.
they want to spread something saying a particular candidate attended this rally and there were millions of people watching it, and the bot can manage that too if it wanted, based on a
Interesting
location?
question. I'm not in a position to answer this question, but you're saying that there are millions of people watching.
I mean,
And-
attending. The guy can say that I'm at this rally, but there are
Mhm.
millions of people watching, and the news shows that.
No, I think
Interesting.
so Vishal, I think we need to try and distinguish. I was speaking to you about
Yes, please.
two different
Let's
kinds of
distinguish,
bots,
yes.
right? One are bots designed to spread a message,
Correct.
right?
That's clear.
And that is what we spoke
Yes.
about with
Yes.
this particular thing. Second is a set of bots which are designed to take down infrastructure.
Yes,
These
that's
are
the separate
malicious
one. Yes.
bots, right? Or do denial of service
So
attack.
which we are not talking about today.
Yeah,
obviously.
so which we are not
Mm.
talking about. Now, I think the one which you mentioned, the scenario you mentioned, that bots sitting on cameras suddenly manipulating the content to show millions of people behind the leader watching him, I think sort of starts tending into the second reeling, right? We have not seen a large scale
Okay,
evidence of
okay.
this happening, honestly.
Okay.
Can it not happen in future?
It
Definitely it can. But today we are still not
So
there
what
because there are easier ways
okay.
of managing
Are
this.
these programs learning by themselves? Is there a level of AI here?
No.
No.
So most of the media bots
Mhm.
are managed by people. They are known as herds or shepherds.
Good to know.
So that's what we are seeing. So far, we are not seeing large scale leverage of AI to change a story. No,
Okay.
that's still not
So which is a
happening.
good thing, but it can happen.
It can absolutely happen.
Because you were
It's-
giving examples of China, right?
Yes.
Where the narrative is manipulated regularly.
Yes.
How does that happen? I mean, is that still herds of people? You're saying?
Yeah, it is still hurting people.
But you're talking about tons of data already available for somebody to program the machine to do something, right?
Yeah, I mean, see, let's look at what nation states are doing, right?
Yes,
Nation
please.
states have a role to play in leveraging bots, right? Some nations like China are using bots to, they do not have political opponents within the country, but they're using bots to, spread a certain media message to, influence their own public, right? Then there are nations which are using bots to, or social media to manipulate activity or happenings in another country, right? Many a times Eastern European countries are accused of doing this. Maybe Russia is accused of doing this, right? So these are different kinds of scenarios. What China could be doing is when it is targeting message around a geography, like say this province which is a certain religion, right? It might be using a lot of publicly available data before sending out the messages. But you need to distinguish between data available and then purposing it to change a story. These are two step activities. The bots themselves are not doing it.
Not doing it. So today, reams of people are sitting somewhere in a low-cost
Exactly.
economy.
Exactly.
So it starts with the person who is doing the troll, and then bots actually amplify that. Right?
Exactly. I like that.
When do you see that shift happening, though?
It's a
When
matter
do you
of
see
time.
your roles changing? Not to the bad side, of course, obviously. When do you see your roles changing to take on an intelligent bot?
So I think in the world of malwares we are already seeing that, but in the world of social media manipulation, I think it's a matter of time, Vishal. I wouldn't be surprised if this were to start happening in the next couple of years.
That means next election will be completely fought online. Completely.
Completely fought online. Your battle will be against AI-driven bots, and yeah.
You know, what do you guys read on a lighter note to actually get ready? I mean, do you read a lot of technical stuff, or what do you get inspired by?
So I like to remain connected. I do a
Okay.
lot of secondary research, honestly. I do a lot of primary research as well, but I spend a lot of time trying to read, what's happening in different parts of the world, because eventually countries like India start, what happens in a small laboratory like in Tunisia or in Egypt 8 years back is quite likely that it will start getting repeated in India even more aggressively. So I like to read that stuff.
Okay, that's good. So it's more news-based stuff, secondary research.
I'm much into
And also
news.
you travel a lot, both of you. And,
Yes,
and
yes.
what do you
So
read?
interestingly, I also attend a lot of events because my role allows me to attend a lot of events. At events, we meet really interesting people and exchange these thoughts, and I think that's one very good source from where I get my intel as
So
well.
it's again, guys, if you listen to cybersecurity experts, not getting anything on social media, but doing real research, going meeting people, attending events,
That's right.
right? Don't be manipulated. Don't be manipulated by things on Tinder, Twitter, Facebook, whatnot. These companies are doing their bit but your narratives are being shaped. I mean, I'm interested in an example, but there is no example of manipulation happening, right? I mean, we don't see it, but it's very subtle.
No, I mean, manipulation of stories are happening, right? A great example was during the 2016 US elections. Even before some debates started happening, bots were already declaring winners. You and I wouldn't have done that,
Yes.
right? But bots were already declaring Trump as the winner of that particular debate. So that manipulation has been happening, Vishal.
This is like an attack on democracy and the mind share for people.
Absolutely.
And the fact that if our politicians also get into this eventually, it'll obviously make the companies doing these narratives very rich.
Yes.
But they're actually manipulating themselves, because you never know whose side the bot is really taking, right? And they might be a Western
eventually
interest.
with AI driven bots, a rogue bot might be a difficult one to manage. So today all political parties in India definitely have social media cells, right, which are designed to propagate that party's message, right?
That's fantastic.
I'm not saying that it is manipulative right now, right? But once AI takes over some of these activities, and a rogue AI might actually do that.
So guys, I'm going to transcribe this interview by Friday. I'm going to bring in another security company to participate in that story. There I've got numbers for you on what political parties are releasing what kind of bots and how those bots are manipulating your story. There's a lot around radicalization, not internally in India, but from external sources. We didn't talk about state actors, right? There are state actors also influencing things in India.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a known fact. India is very, very active as a nation, trying to, do influence abroad. There are outside state actors, you'd be surprised what we see in our labs, and the intensity of messages coming from Eastern Europe, some from China, and so on and so forth, right? So there is a lot of cyber activity which happens targeted particularly at our country, and no reason why this should not be targeting narratives and social media stories.
Okay, the quick question would be, does India have a cyber cell?
India has very, very active cyber cell. We are one of the most active countries. Obviously, as you would imagine, most of it is meant to be, covert. You'll not hear a lot of what really happens overtly, and which is much like what it is everywhere else in the world.
And the cyber cell releases papers, or is it just very internal? You guys might have access to something.
We are not meant to have any access to this stuff. There are, again, like Sharath mentioned, it is more word of mouth. Most of it is word of mouth. You have to be in the right forums, the right groups to be talking to people, and that's how you learn what really is being done about different things.
So security is the next biggest thing.
Yes.
It is. You want to add something?
Yeah,
I'm
and there are
scared about
states-
your piece, because you track devices, and that scares me even more, because I have WhatsApp connected to my car now with Google CarPlay and all that.
Wow.
And imagine that manipulating me over time. That'd be scary.
No, getting back to that question where you asked whether states have cells or country has a cell. India is coming up with state COE, Center of Excellences for Cybersecurity. A lot of states are very actively taking cybersecurity initiatives to educate people on how to use their mobile phones, how to use their devices, their cameras which they've installed at homes and all that. So there's a lot of activity going on.
So guys, if you get a lot of WhatsApp and Facebook feeds now, take it with a pinch of salt. Don't get excited. I know all of you, most of them are voted, but some of you are going to vote from tomorrow, or even are going to vote today. I'm saying exercise your franchise wisely, and we wish you all the best. If you have any questions, send it to me. I'll get these two gentlemen to answer it. I've got the Subex team on hold too. They're going to put in a couple of reports from their papers probably in the Facebook page. Guys, take care. Bye.
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
Thank you. This is a good one, man. I mean,